Hi everyone, my name is Tam. I'm from Create Business, and today, beside me, I've got Dan. Dan is from Impacto Consulting, and I went to this awesome online workshop right at the start of lockdown, and it was about doing design thinking and collaboration online. And I was like, "You are my savior." And I kind of hounded them with lots of questions, and they probably thought I was a Fruit Loop, but I am lucky enough to Dan to jump on board and speak with me today. Hi, Dan.
Hey, Tam. Didn't think you were a Fruit Loop, but definitely knew that you had a keen interest in this sort of work. And we've got to chat a lot since then too. So yeah, definitely put those concerns to rest.
Great. Yeah, I am very passionate about engagement and very interested in different methods and strategies to do that. And it's even more challenging to do that online. But we're not kind of so much here to talk about that today, but we kind of are. I'd really like to, first of all, I see on your LinkedIn profile that you are like a social innovator. What is that?
Good question. What we do. So Impacto Consulting is my business. I'm one part of that. My business partner Tracy is the other part of that, and we are a social innovation consultancy. So we do a lot of different things that fit under that umbrella. We help organizations with strategy. We help organizations with understanding the people that they serve and the people that they care for better than they do today. We help them understand the systems and the world that they operate in and that the people that they care for live in. And then we also help them to design new things or improve existing things like services or products that they have that I guess are there to help and make the world a better place for the people that they care for and that they serve. So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell. There's a lot of methodologies and tools and stuff that we have that sit around that, but that's essentially what it is. We try and make, but I guess what we're trying to do at the end of the day is help not-for-profits and government and institutions that are in the for-purpose sector do things better and be more effective to have a bigger social impact.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in there that really interest me. And I I know before we got on, we had a little chat, and we were both laughing about how it's really hard to explain to your friends and family what the hell you do. And
Yeah.
I'm in the same position, like that notion of engagement. But really, we are in a space right now where understanding how your service or product relates to your user is really, really important. There's, government policy that's, you know, pushing organizations, especially in the not-for-profit in health, towards that direction. But also, social distancing is, really showing us that the user is very central to what you do. So, just tell me about thinking about design and coming from that premise where the person or the user is central. As an organization, how would you recommend someone start thinking about that or building it into their work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Look, I think it's a philosophy. I think it's something that you need to make as an individual is a conscious decision to value the input from the user. I think that's the first starting point. Sometimes we get brought in to help out with projects and people have already got an idea and what they want us to do is re-engineer something for their internal staff to feel good about this change. And we don't do that because that's not the purpose of this sort of work,
Stop
right?
and talk about that. So
Mm.
you're talking about that. Potentially an organisation has already got in mind what they want to do, and
Exactly.
they want you to go out and say, "Yes, you've made the right decision."
Yeah, pretty
But
much.
really, you go out and say to people, "What do you think?"
I think so, yeah. Generally, I mean, look, I wouldn't say it's definitely black and white. As that, sometimes there are situations where we do want to go and test whether something is right. But I think when somebody doesn't have that flexibility around that solution may not be the end solution, that's when that's probably becomes a problem. So yeah, I think that's the first starting point. You need to sort of be on board with that philosophy, and you need to be on board with and make that decision as an individual that's leading a project, or as an organization as a whole, that we're going to value the input from our end user. Um, if you can do that, I think that's a starting point. Then I think the next step is to either go out there and start talking to and involving these people in your decision making, and in the design of anything that you're doing that you think is going to, I guess, affect an end user. Uh, you can do that yourself. There's a lot of stuff online, or you can, hire some, specialists like what we do to help guide you through that. But I think, yeah, essentially, I think when people sort of say, how can I get started today? If you've already made that decision to get on board and to do something, is to actually just start talking to more people. Don't think that you're the expert. You have to kind of let go of that and go, you know what? I am an expert at what I do, but I don't know everything. And there's this group of people that are sitting out there who are using our services every day, or our products every day, and they know a hell of a lot more about what their needs are than what I do. And if you can let go of that, then you can get started, and you can start to speak to them and really learn what do they truly need from you.
Mm. I love this stuff. I just going to say we've got a few viewers. Hello. It's great to have you with us. If you have got a question or a comment for Dan, please do. We've only got a small time together, but Dan's got a wealth of knowledge, and I highly recommend that you check out what he does, and even get onto the Impacto newsletter, because there is like a wealth of resources and opportunities to get along to online workshops and training. But making that initial decision to say, yes, I'm going to be open to what possibilities are, potentially open to change or adjusting in response, and also open to maybe new ways of communicating. How would you recommend for an individual who's running a project or an organization to start designing to get that two-way interaction happening?
Yeah, so I guess it starts at the design of how you're going to approach the project. And I think, just going on from what I said before, once you've made that decision that you're going to do that and they're going to be included, build in some time to involve these people. So quite often, it starts with understanding the world of the person that you are designing for. And a really simple way to do that is to actually just get them to talk to you, to tell you stories about when they've interacted with your organization. Ask them questions about who they are. Learn about them better than what you know them today. It's just about being curious and being willing to listen. Don't go in there with I want to try and get them to this point of them telling me this is a good idea. Just go in there and be like, we've got two objectives. We want to understand what it's like for them to deal with our organization. Very broad, open questions so that they can give us good answers, bad answers. Oh, bad answers. That's not the right word, but like they can criticize. They can give.
Surprising.
Sorry, it's a bad choice of words. And create that space for them to feel safe. That's also really important too, that they can give those constructive answers to you and not feel like they're going to be penalized or it's going to be awkward or something like that. They really need to feel like it's a safe space. And so once you kind of get them, that's one part, is like get them to talk about, I guess, what it's been like to deal with your organization or your service or your product. But then the second part is, like I said before, just talk to them about who they are. Try and understand, like, not just their demographics, but their psychographics. So what do they like to do? What are their interests? Understand that whole of person type, I guess, viewpoint of the people that you care for can also help you to better, I guess, create things that will suit their needs too.
Okay. So, building that into your very sort of beginning of your project design or, product thinking, and now that, you can't have, people in a workshop space or invite them in, how can we, invite our, users or people that we work with or people who use a product? How do we invite them to share their story, and how else can we get to know them?
Yeah, sure. So we've got some great technology at the moment, and it's been really tested through this pandemic as well, of how this works. And I think it really depends on who you're wanting to talk to. Some different groups that are harder to access are, like the name that I just sort of gave them, are harder to access. So you have to be a little bit more creative. But for a lot of people, a Zoom conversation, something like what we're having now, can be really effective. So somehow,
Together and having a chat,
sorry.
just chatting one to one.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. That's what we do with the bulk of the research that we do is through using Zoom. I think there's some real benefits from it. I think one of the things that we love about using Zoom is that you can record the conversation and it's in really high quality. And I guess when we were doing this stuff face to face, we needed to have somebody there who was taking notes, or we needed to have somebody there that was recording it on a camcorder or something like that. So yeah, when you do that over Zoom, it works a hell of a lot better because you've got it, sits on the cloud. You can then go through after it, listen to it, pull out the information that you need. The downside of it is we often used to do a lot of location interviews. So we'd go out to somebody's house and we'd talk to them and all those sorts of things. Now, you learn a lot about somebody just by being in their house, and you don't get that in Zoom. From me, if you were to see what you can see from here is a grey wall. You might know that I like the colour grey. That's what you could pull from this. But if you're in my house and you can look around, you can see that I'm
You're into
supporter. I've got a heap of guitars in here. I've got a dog asleep on the couch. You learn a lot more.
yeah.
So that's the only downside of using the digital technology. But I think in this moment, we don't want to make it perfectionistic. We want to do, it's better to engage people than it is to not engage people. So, we can ask them questions. You could even, if you really want to know, you could ask them, what's around you in the room that you'd be happy to share. There's other ways you can get around it.
That's such a simple question, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Really easy to answer. So once you've gathered this information, what the hell do you do with it? Like, how is this going to be meaningful?
So what we normally do, so if we're talking about I guess, information about individuals, is pull them together into personas. So what we want to be able to do is say, let's say we've interviewed, I don't know, let's say 10 different people. We might actually start to see that we can start bucketing them into different user groups. So, for example, you might have people who care about this, or people that come from, I don't know, this background or something. You might start to see some trends. And you can then sort of say, all right, we've got 3 different types of user that uses our service, and they've all got a different set of needs or something that is what puts them into separate categories. So once you've got that, you can then, the more people you interview, you start just sort of like filling out these buckets. And then at the end of it, you'll actually have these 3, I guess, characters that will personify those groups of people. It's not the same as market segmentation. Some people sort of think that that's the same. It's not. It's not. There is a science to it, but it's really about how do we, I guess, create a character that would represent a group of people, so that when we are designing things, or even internally we're speaking about them, we can actually have some level of empathy for them. That's the idea behind a persona. So generally,
Really special word, isn't it? Empathy.
Sorry?
That's a really great word, empathy.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of this is about, is this, not looking at things from the organization's point of view solely. I think we're good at that. I think, to be in an organization, you have to be able for it to be successful, you need to look at it from the organization's perspective. I mean, that sort of comes naturally, but I think understanding it from the perspective of the people that you care for is something that we need to always constantly remind ourselves on. The more so, especially the more so now that we are not out there in person working with these people face to face, we need to really make sure that we don't lose that contact and that empathy for those people.
Yeah, that's yeah, it really just comes back to being quite clear about your intent, and it is a really tricky space to juggle. Yes, I have got things I need to achieve as an organization or within this project, but ultimately you are doing and being to serve people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I guess the bigger setting as well is that you are within a community. Those people are in a community. It's all valuable.
Absolutely.
Mm. Um, so using that information about, how you can have I suppose, a way to connect with your users or people who, you're interacting with through your organization. Does that need refreshing or reviewing? Like, how's that going to continue to bring value?
So you're saying once you've done that research, how do you
Hmm.
make sure that it's not just put in a drawer somewhere on a shelf? How do you continue to bring that to life? Yeah. Look, again, I think the root cause of when that works well and when that doesn't work well is when the organisation makes the decision to want to know more about the people they care for. You know, again, I've been a part of, and I've also seen colleagues be part of projects where organisations do this tick a box, and it doesn't really have much value because unless you are, it's a very different way of thinking about it. If you are doing it to tick a box, you'll do the exercise and then it will actually just go in a drawer or sit on a hard drive somewhere in someone's computer. I think if you are someone who's truly curious and wanting to know how you can better understand the people, you will automatically sort of integrate that in some way to your day-to-day work. So ways that we've seen that being done in the past is, people creating like a graphic and having that up on the wall in the office. And or it might be that, a journey map is created. And whenever somebody wants to make a change to the service, they have to actually use this as their starting point to sort of say what impact will it have. It's about creating, I guess, creating artifacts and having them built into the way that you work. I think that's probably the most general way that I could put that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're nice, practical tools. Um, I am just looking at the time. Just have a short catch up. But Dan, if people are interested in learning more about designing um, with the people that they work with in mind, what would you recommend?
Look, there's a heap of really good stuff online. You go to IDEO's website, which is ideo.org, I think it is. But if you just Google IDEO, it'll come up. They've got a heap of online tools. If you jump on YouTube, how to use human-centered design, co-design, there's a lot. There's a heap of books on this. I've actually got one here that I've been reading at the moment, research design book. There's heaps, there's lots and lots of stuff out there. A lot of this is open source because the people that created it, they want to see people change the world in this way. A lot of the problems that have been created because they were solutions to a time, but they at that point they didn't go and engage individuals. They were just organisations internally focused, creating things. So a lot of this stuff is open source because these people who create this stuff want to see the world change in this way because this is the way we need to solve problems. So you can get it. The other thing is as well, Tam, you mentioned it before, if people go to our website, which is impactoconsulting.com.au, we also have a free newsletter that we send out once a month, and that has a heap of tips. We send out good books that we recommend, YouTube videos, all sorts of stuff that can help people learn this.
Yeah,
So, what was that?
I really enjoy your newsletter. It's well worth subscribing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, Dan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.